Hi, it's Dave Arman at NERI 2010 with Scott Mazarski. He's the EVP of Commercial Operations for PR Newswire. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dave?
Good, good. What are some of the takeaways today for people that are talking to PR Newswire?
That's interesting. There's been a lot of focus from IROs on how they can best reach their constituents, and obviously the topic that has been a pretty hot topic in NERI this year has been web disclosure. A couple of companies in the industry have introduced limited web-only disclosure, which doesn't involve any editorial whatsoever. As a result of that, companies are wondering whether it makes sense to go that route. And we have been counseling IROs that really it depends on what they're trying to achieve. Limited web-only disclosure may very well comply with the letter of Reg FD. However, what it doesn't do is engage in the fullest and most effective way with all the constituents, the portfolio managers, the analysts, and the shareholders that a company is trying to reach. And also what it doesn't necessarily do is comply with the spirit behind Regulation FD. So as an example, we had a company recently come to us and say they were interested in doing notice and access. We discussed the pros and cons, and there's a lot of statistics that show that there's less pickup for notice and access releases and the material in them. We told that to the client, and the client said, well, that's okay, because the earnings that we're putting out are not very good, so we don't want that much pickup. Well, that's crazy. It goes completely against the spirit of Regulation FD, and it's selective disclosure. So while technically it might comply, it really isn't complying with the spirit of Regulation.
Doesn't pass the smell test.
Exactly. Doesn't even come close. No, and I think the other point, Dave, that's very relevant is editorial resources and DIY. IROs are strapped in their budgets. They don't have enough people. They desperately want to engage with their constituents, and they don't have enough people to help them do that. Now, with the burden being back on them, if they follow a web-only DIY disclosure regimen, that will take more time away from their team to do something that's pretty complex, which is get the earnings and content that they want to get in front of their constituents into the right form, mistake-free. As an example, last year, our editorial team, and a great shout out to our editorial team because they're tremendous, caught over 100,000 errors across the releases that we handled. Many of those in earnings. Now, some of them are ridiculous, you know, a comma missing in one place or a word where there's a spelling error, but some are pretty big. Numerous instances where companies put the wrong earnings table into its release from a prior quarter, links that don't link to relevant content and link to stuff that sometimes is not only completely irrelevant, but also almost offensive. So there's major problems with that, and one of the things that Newswire, Business Wire, PR Newswire have done over the years is invest lots of capital and lots of time, not only building superior distribution, but really spending an awful lot of time building processes and hiring people who have an expertise in ensuring that the information that companies get out there is accurate and doesn't contain mistakes.
Good. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Yep.